guys. Oh, this is really, really nice. I never thought that I would feel like this when you do that. So that's amazing. Do that again. My name is Bianca Schobel. I don't know, I think a couple of you definitely know me, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm currently a Scrum Master at Eurostar, and I've been there for a long time, almost 2 years now. And I accepted this challenge as well because I'm not a public speaker and I don't feel comfortable being in front of you or in front of anyone, to be honest. But I think I love challenges, so that's why I'm here. I'm gonna try and give you just a tool, just a little bit of understanding of a tool that I've learned on how to give feedback. So if you look below your chairs, you have some notes, and I'm gonna run through my presentation, and then you can understand what I mean with those. So, first thing first, my agenda for the next 5 minutes, and I'm gonna try to be in 5 minutes. People that know me, I do tend to talk a lot, so I'm gonna promise not to take more than 5 minutes. Why is feedback important? A real life example. A feedback tool that I learned. Bonus, I have just 3 top tips for you when you give feedback, and I want you to put it in practice tonight. So that's it. My goal for tonight, as I said, I want you to grab one of those post-it notes and write a feedback note after my presentation. What is feedback? I mean, I don't think I want to stay here and take the 5 minutes to explain to you what feedback is. I just did a Google, and I think the first paragraph that came up, it's really easy, and it actually encapsulates what feedback is. A process in which the effect or output of an action is returned to modify the next action. And it looks very simple. You need to have an action, an effect, and there's a feedback. And then it goes into a loop. Right? Very easy. Why is feedback important? Feedback is always there. Hands up for those of you who have given feedback or received feedback in the last week. Easy. What about the last 3 days? What about today? Exactly. So feedback is always there, even if it's not a, let's say, an official survey or an official, let's say, performance review, or name it, something official. Feedback is always there. In your day-to-day communication, you give feedback and you receive feedback. Feedback can motivate. So as human beings, we are motivated by giving feedback and knowing that our feedback can lead to taking decisions. So I think it's really important. Do try and do this a lot. And then once you have feedback always there and feedback motivating people, that actually works hand in hand with continuous improvement. So it's just like a loop. Give feedback, receive feedback, learn something, and do it again. Cool. And now I just want to walk you through a real-time example. Who has a dog at home? Or a cat? Cool. Have you ever done this? Like, bad dog. All right. Do you think this is... Well done. Well done. Do you guys think this is feedback? From my point of view, this is definitely not the feedback. All right, so what I want to do next, I'm going to introduce you that tool that I talked to you about so that we can change this particular bad dog statement into a real feedback. The feedback is called SBI, and I'm going to walk you through what that means. It is developed by the Center for Creative Leadership. It just describes a very simple structure on how you can actually define a feedback when you write it or give it to someone. And it's really, really important. The goal of it is to avoid making assumptions. Assumptions on what the other person felt, what the other person did. It's more about like what you felt whilst you're giving feedback. So first thing first, SBI, situation, behavior, impact. Very simple. It's a simple structure, as I said. But let's just walk through them and understand a little bit more what they mean. So situation. It's really, really important to describe the situation, like be specific. Talk about when and where it happened. If you do that, you will, one, put the person into a context, and that person will understand what is this person actually trying to tell me. And it also like you don't generalize, and you're like a little bit more specific, right? So taking my example with the bad dog, let's see how we can translate that into the first part of our feedback. Last evening, when I got home and I walked into the kitchen, ... So that's the first part, right? I described the situation. I used last evening and walked into the kitchen. So my dog now knows that it's all about last evening and something that happened in the kitchen. Let's see what happened in the kitchen. That's the behavior. This is a very, very important step that we usually miss. And it's really important to observe the behavior, but don't assume you know what the other person was thinking. So it's more about what did you see? when something happened. Again, let's go back to my example with the dog. So I walked into the kitchen. I observed that you were chewing on my new leather boots. That's what the dog was doing, right? So I observed something. I didn't say that he was doing something wrong. I didn't say that, oh, you were a bad dog because you were chewing on my boots. I just observed that you were chewing on my new leather boots, right? It's a fact. Last bit is I actually put a heart on it because it's the I, right? It does stand for impact, but it's all about how you felt in that particular situation, right? It's not about how the dog felt. It's not about how people around the dog felt or how the boots felt. It's more about how you felt in that situation. So, again, using the example, so I walked into the kitchen. I saw you chewing on my new leather boots. It made me feel sorry for the boots, and I was really upset. So in this particular statement, I don't use anything about, you were a really bad dog or you were whatever. I'm just telling you what I felt when I observed that particular situation. It changes a little bit, let's say, the focus from the person whom you're giving feedback to you, because in the end, you are the person giving the feedback, so it should be very personal. Right, so now the outcome is, if you read it, last evening when I got home and I walked into the kitchen, I observed that you were chewing on my new leather boots. It made me feel sorry about the boots and I was really upset. How does this sound compared to bad dog? Is this a little bit better? Cool, all right. So on the notes that I actually put below your seats, you have this particular tool described, and I would like you to try and use it tonight with our next speakers or even me, if you want to. There's an example about me there. But next steps. So you've learned the tool, you have the template, you are giving feedback. What do you think is the next step? It's time to reflect. So it's not enough to just say, okay, you chewed on my leather boots and I'm really upset, I'm just going to leave it there. There's no outcome from that, right? You have to take time to reflect. You have to allow that person or that dog a little bit of reflection time to understand what was the actual impact. So it made you feel bad, right? So something happened there. And then together you set up what are the next action points so that you can correct either the mistake or maybe it was something good. You want to move forward with that. I did mention 3 extra tips for you because I find these really important. So you can have the template of how to give feedback. You can have the right person to give feedback. But how many times were you terrified when your manager came to you and said, can I give you some feedback? Yeah? I don't think I have that kind of a manager, but if you do felt that, you need to build the safety first, right? What I mean by safety first, try to get to connect with that person. It doesn't mean you have to, I don't know, be happy or smile all the time. I mentioned it, be positive. You can be robust, you can be rough with your feedback, but don't be mean. It's a totally different thing, right? Last thing, be immediate. We know we all have like 6 months performance reviews or 3 months appraisals or whatever. Don't wait 3 months or 6 months to give feedback when somebody did something either wrong or something good. Give it immediate. Otherwise, your feedback will be lost in transition, or maybe that person already improved on that particular thing you want to feedback on. So give it when you feel it. All right, that's, oh wow, I'm actually on time, thank you. Amazing. So just a little bit of a recap. This is how the template looks like. You have a situation, make sure you put when and where. It's really, really important. That person will actually jump back and know exactly what you mean and what you actually meant by that. Behavior, it's more about the observable behavior, so what actually happened. And the impact is all about you. How did you feel in that particular feedback statement? I gave you an example again, if you want to use it or not. And that's about it. Thank you.